The Tour de France is one of the most difficult and impressive road bike races throughout the year, along with being one of the most viewed sporting events each and every season. The incredible scenery of the French countryside and the tricky challenge of 21 unique stages make the race a must-watch. My name is Felix, and today I'm going to go over the Tour de France. We'll discuss the basics, stages, riders, and teams. If you enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and without further delay, let's talk about the Tour de France. The Tour de France was first created in 1903 as a way to promote and advertise the newspaper L'Auto. The beginning of the tour was a very difficult time. Cheating was a common affair, riders were often tormented by rival fans, and the course was simply extremely long, exhausting, and difficult, especially for the time. The Tour de France, which has been running ever since 1903, with the exceptions of the two world wars, started as a grueling and challenging 5-day stage race between the largest French cities, but has since evolved into a modern, worldwide sporting event. The Tour de France is a 23-day affair, typically spanning over 3,500 kilometers or 2,000 miles. The riders will tackle 21 unique stages, along with 2 rest days, typically built into the first and second weekends of racing. Each stage presents its unique challenge and is typically classified into the following categories. Flat stages. Flat stages are typically used as transitional stages to move between the different mountain ranges and other obstacles in France. A typical tour sees between 6 to 10 flat stages. Flat stages, as the name implies, are typically characterized by a very flat and even profile, only gaining small amounts of elevation. This means that on most flat stages, the whole group of racers, also known as a peloton, can arrive at the destination in one big group, barring no crashes or splits due to crosswinds. This results in what is known as a bunch sprint, where the big riders with the strongest legs will contest for the stage win. Hilly stages. Hilly stages are typically located near the foothills of larger mountains or in smaller mountain ranges or hills throughout France, and typically present 3 to 4 times per tour. These stages can present many different options. They typically prefer what are known as classics riders, riders with a strong ability to both climb smaller mountains and sprint. However, they also sometimes result in a breakaway win, where a small group of riders escape from the peloton and stay away until the finish. Or they can result in a reduced bunch sprint, where some of the sprinters who have adequate climbing abilities can get to the finish and contest for the stage win. Mountain stages. Mountain stages are the most famous stages in the Tour de France, and for good reason, showing up anywhere between 6 and 8 times per race. They are the most difficult, challenging, and important stages that riders face. A day in the mountains can be characterized by between 3,000 to 6,000 meters of climbing elevation gain. Mountain stages are typically located in the Alps of southeast France or the Pyrenees of southwestern France, and occasionally they head into neighboring countries like Italy, Andorra, or Spain. These stages are the most influential in determining who will win the Tour de France, as only the best climbers, who typically through a combination of physical ability and mental strength, will be able to contest for the stage win. By the end of these stages, the group of riders will be whittled down to the strongest 10 or 20 riders, who will either challenge at a summit finish or descend at high speeds to a finishing town. These stages often present time bonuses at intermediate climbs and at the finish line, which incentivizes the strong riders to be the first to the line. Individual time trial stages. Along with mountain stages, individual time trials are some of the most important in determining the winner of the Tour de France. Individual time trials, or ITTs, are demanding short courses, between 10 to 40 kilometers, where a rider must rely on their own skills against the clock. In 1-minute intervals, riders on special time trial bikes and equipment will go off the ramp and attempt to set the best time on the course. These individual time trials, which can occur anywhere between 1 to 3 times per tour, require a very specific skill set and determine the truly strong riders. ITTs also show up in many sizes and forms. Some are long, some are short. Some are pan-flat all-out sprints, while others are hilly. Sometimes there are even whole mountain climbs contained within an ITT. Team time trial stages. The team time trial is set up in a similar format to the individual time trial, except they take place in the form of teams. I'll explain teams a little bit later, but for now, just understand that each team is a group of 8 riders that train and work together under one sponsor. The team time trial challenges this level of teamwork and cooperation in which riders will take turns taking heavy pulls on the front in order to get their leaders to the finish line. The time stops after the first 4 riders on each team cross the line, and this fact plays into the team tactics. Team time trials are not as common as the other types of stages and have not featured in the Tour since 2019. Prizes. There are many different types of prizes on offer at the Tour de France that riders are competing for over the course of 3 weeks. Le Maillot Jaune. The most prestigious prize that the riders are competing for is the Maillot Jaune, or yellow jersey. The Maillot Jaune is worn by the race leader, the rider with the overall least cumulative time throughout all the stages that have been contested so far. Despite the Tour de France being such a long race, with each stage taking around 5 to 6 hours to travel, the top riders at the Tour typically are so competitively close that the Tour can finish within a matter of minutes or even seconds, making the last few stages extremely important. The winner of the Maillot Jaune is considered the winner of the Tour de France. The Maillot Vert. The Maillot Vert or green jersey is a sprint classification jersey. At each finish line, or at each intermediate sprint point along the course, riders have an opportunity to pick up points. The rider with the most points at the end of the racing wins the green jersey, which is very prestigious in itself. The Maillot Vert is typically picked up by sprinters, although it is sometimes won by other types of riders. Polka Dot jersey. The polka dot jersey is similar to the green jersey, except it is given to the top rider in the mountains. At each mountain pass, a certain number of predetermined points is awarded depending on how difficult the climb is. For example, a Category 4 or Category 3 climb is relatively easy and only awards limited points, while a Category 1 or an HC or above category climb offers many points and sometimes time bonuses in the Maillot Jaune competition. Maillot Blanc. The Maillot Blanc or white jersey is similar to the yellow jersey in that it takes the cumulative time of racing. However, the white jersey is only awarded to young riders aged under 25. Team classification. Another competition is the team competition, in which the total time of the top 3 riders on each team is tallied up. The team with the lowest cumulative time for the top 3 riders wins the team classification. While this classification exists, it's typically less prestigious than the other ones that I've discussed, and it's not cared about as much by the riders or the spectators. Types of riders. Cycling is very much an international sport, where riders come from all different parts of the world in all different shapes and sizes. Teams must work together with a variety of riders to achieve success. General classification riders. General classification riders or team leaders are typically excellent climbers and time trialists. This means that most GC riders that you will find are skinny, with their muscular mass all located on their legs, which helps them climb faster. Team leaders or GC riders are the ones that will typically contest for the yellow jersey competition, and most teams will carry 1, 2, or even 3 riders that they will consider for GC. Notable GC riders include Tadej Pogacar, Geraint Thomas, Primoz Roglic, Miguel Angel Lopez, and Nairo Quintana. Sprinters. Sprinters are a specialized type of rider that will solely contest for the win on flat stages. Sprinters, unlike GC climbers, are very muscular and powerful riders, capable of generating insane amounts of power in the last kilometer of a flat stage, reaching speeds of 60, 70, or even 80 kilometers for a short period of time. Sprinters are unable to contest on mountain stages because their extreme muscle mass means that they weigh too much, making it difficult for them to climb. Notable sprinters include Sam Bennett, Peter Sagan, Alexander Kristoff, Giacomo Nizzoli, and Sonny Colbrelli. Punchers. In the middle ground between the general classification climbers and the sprinters are riders known as punchers or rollers. These riders might not be able to climb quite as well as some of the GC riders or sprint quite as fast as purebred sprinters, but through their smart tactics and quick bursts of energy, they can find ways to succeed. These types of riders often sneak away in breakaways, where riders make moves up the road to escape from the massive riders or the peloton. Their unique skill set also allows them to succeed on some of the hillier stages, as when many of the sprinters are dropped, this type of rider has the potential to beat climbers in a sprint. Notable punchers include Julian Alaphilippe, Mathieu van der Poel, Greg van Avermaet, and Wout van Aert. Domestiques. The final oversimplified group of riders are the domestiques, which translates to servant in French. As the name implies, the domestique job is not necessarily a fun or charming one, but it is a very important one. Domestiques are the ones that have to chase down breakaways, get food or supplies from the team cars, or give up their own bikes when their team leader has a mechanical problem. They must sacrifice their own aspirations of winning and glory in order to assist their teammates. Most teams will carry 4 to 5 domestiques, as their services are particularly important in the mountain stages, where they will help set tempo to assist their leaders up the climbs. The strongest domestiques can be paid handsomely, as some even prefer doing this job as it's slightly less stress than being the team leader. Some domestiques also eventually end up becoming team leaders after a strong performance. Notable domestiques include Michael Kwiatkowski, Sepp Kuss, and Tim de Klerk. The teams. As mentioned before, a team is a cohesive unit of 8 riders that come together under one sponsorship in order to support 1 or 2 team leaders or sprinters. Each team comes from many different nationalities, and each rider serves their own unique purpose. Some teams have the goal of winning the general classification with a strong climber, while others want to win the sprint classification. Others simply cherish the idea of being invited, and simply aim to jump in breakaways or win a stage or 2. Team budgets also vary wildly. The top teams like Ineos, Deceuninck Quickstep, Jumbo-Visma, and Movistar have the ability to pay high-quality riders and hire strong domestiques. However, all teams, regardless of their budget, are well-oiled machines that have higher budgets than any of us could dream about, and typically hire staffs of directors, chefs, trainers, and medical support. Other races. While the Tour de France is the most important race on the calendar in terms of viewership and exposure, it's not the only cycling race. The TDF is part of the UCI World Tour, a year-long battle between the 19 top cycling teams in the world, which all employ about 30 riders, 8 of which are selected to ride the Tour. There are 3 Grand Tours each year, the Tour de France being one of them. However, some viewers prefer the other 2, the Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta a España, as they are less commercially focused and sometimes feature more exciting courses that include extremely difficult climbs, gravel roads, and more time trials. There are also one-week stage races all across the world, which are like the Tour de France, but are put into a much more compact time span. Along with these other stage races, there are also one-day competitions known as classics. Classic races are long and challenging courses that often feature hilly landscapes or cobblestones, and can easily span 200 to 300 kilometers in one day. So that's a quick overview of the Tour de France. If you found this video entertaining or helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, have a great day.